Hi everyone, and welcome to this presentation on how beauty finds growth in a new era of trust. I'm Sharon Quek, Associate Director, South APAC for Beauty and Personal Care in Mintel. Mintel is the world's leading market intelligence agency. We pride ourselves as the experts in what consumers want and why. Today, I'm delighted to take you through this presentation on how beauty finds growth in a new era of trust, in which we will explore together the trusted voices of influencers, how trust enter a new dimension of priorities, in which we will take a look at some consumer insights, product examples, and even case studies to give us better context before we look into the future of where beauty can find growth in this whole new dimension of trust. The emphasis on trust didn't just happen today. In 2019, just 2 years back, Mintel had a global beauty and personal care trend in which we call it the beauty with a brain. This is where we recognize that there's this growing mistrust of product claims that are not proven either by science or testified by end users based on their actual usage experience. We know that consumers are more sophisticated than ever, thanks to social media and the convenient access to information. So fast forward now, when we look at it, the importance of trust is underscored and demonstrated in different ways. So brands similarly are redefining what expert mean or even look like. Who can be an expert and how? So that will include celebrities, brands' very own education team, influencers, micro-influencers, as well as community, their very own consumers, forming various circles of trust. So when we take a look firstly at the trusted voices of influence, these are definitely very recognizable brand icons, social media platforms globally. This is where consumers find trust of Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, or even Snapchat. In APAC, there's a bigger mix of not just social media platforms, but also live streaming platforms such as in Taiwan, 17 Live, in Singapore, Be Live, and also some of these independent niche kind of live streaming channels such as Kaipo in Singapore. So the adoption of live streaming has definitely accelerated during this whole pandemic. Taking from Mintel's 35 market global consumer research studies, we hear from consumers, we see that, for instance, in China, 4 out of 10 of consumers tune into live streaming content on a very regular basis. So this lockdown situation, the pandemic, it has accelerated the growth of live streaming, almost from a novelty to now a necessity, which then converts viewership into revenue. Taking from press releases, we see how there's a lot more business growth, 700% increase in the number of businesses that has adopted live streaming for the very first time on Taobao Live product. The entire global social commerce is valued at US dollars, about $585 billion by the end of this year. So consumers are constantly searching for different trusted voices of influence. And this influence today is not just looking at a product, but also in terms of relationship and credibility that will make them trade up. So again, taking from Mintel's global consumer research studies, we hear from consumers how some of them are willing to pay more for beauty and grooming products that is either recommended by someone they know personally, or products that's developed by scientists or researchers. And for a group of consumers, there are also some who would actually pay more for products that's developed by social media influencers. So consumers are constantly on that search, not just for new products, for innovations, but again, in terms of experts who they can trust. So they constantly question the industry. They want to learn more, hear more from brands or any other individuals who are willing to share. So we start to see more individuals coming forward, taking on different channels to really share their information with the audience. For instance, on the left-hand side, we are seeing Caroline Harros. So she's a globally qualified esthetician, also a beauty, lifestyle, and skincare expert. So she partnered with Jasmina Aganovic, who is the president of a skincare company called Mother Dirt. So just last year, both of them come together to roll out this IGTV in which they will touching on the topic around clean and sustainable beauty. On the right, we are looking at this dermatologist, Miss Michelle Wong. So she herself created this beauty science blog called Lab Muffin. So through this blog, she shares a lot of information, scientific proofs, findings, all of that to really educate her followers. So one extract that we got from her blog, for instance, was her talking about the myth and the truth behind mineral sunscreens. So when we look at this trusted voice of influence, we saw earlier on how live streaming is one of these very key channels. And some of these live streaming events today has proven, great success. A good example over here, Clinique's Skin School Live. So they actually hosted their very first celebrity live streaming event with their brand ambassador, Emilia Clarke. So this particular live streaming event and generally as well, why live streaming is such a hit among audiences and consumers is that it enables and facilitates not just shopping, but also learning at the same time. So in this case of Cliniques, why it has been a success for them? Firstly, very direct brand engagement. Also, in this kind of live streaming event, there's this direct access to not just the brand ambassador, but also their brand's very own consultant, so their brand's education team. So there's always real-time responses to some of these questions that audience would have during this kind of live streaming event. So it's a very nice mix of not just expert opinion from the brand's education team, but also, having this very familiar face for their followers that really adds to the success of this live streaming event. In another market, in Malaysia, she is a popular influencer. She's also a creative content creator. Her name is Jen Lim. Her Instagram handle name is So I'm Jen. So Jen is known to be really honest, funny even, to really share things with her followers. She talks about not just beauty and personal care, even some food, her own lifestyle. Why she's so relatable and why people trust her so much is because she's very upfront. Just like how last year during the very bad lockdown situation in Malaysia, she came forward to talk about her personal mental struggle that she's really going through. And about 2 months back, she also shared about her very own wrong usage of the beauty ingredient retinol to combat her acne outbreak. So she took to Instagram stories to post her very bad skin condition, to admit about how she's not using things correctly. She welcomed her followers to share knowledge with her, to share experiences with her so that she feels a little bit better about herself while she looks into other solutions to combat this very bad skin outbreak. And just not too long ago, she updated on her skin condition. She has had great improvements after she cut back on some of these products, routine as well. And she advocates, after going through this episode, about how she realized it's not about having perfect skin, but healthy skin, and being kind to herself. So this is her being very relatable, very honest, and very consistent in the way she shares her content with her followers. So when we look at it, all these kind of different sources of influences, it brings us to look at how trust today enters a new dimension of priorities. Let's take a step back and think about what does trust look or even feel like today for a brand, for a consumer. 2 levels. From a product level, it's about sharing of knowledge, instilling confidence, not compromising on efficacy with the use of products. On a company level, it's about relatability, articulation, behavior, integrity, and even consistency. Which brings to light on a direct to consumer kind of like business model, in short DTC, kind of like brands and models. And this kind of DTC brands today, they have managed to really engender trust with their consumers in a relatively short amount of time, almost bypassing some of these traditional concepts of trust that we are familiar with, such as a long business history alongside scientific proof, to form this concept of trust. But today, when we look at some of these DTC brands and why and how they become successful, they reanalyze their strategy. They now employ a different blend of digitization, personalization as well, in terms of routine and even their services. to also include inclusivity and different engagement tactics. So each of this strategy is built on a stronger and longer term customer brand relationship that isn't predicated on a monetary transaction. What it achieves is actually customer retention through community building, personalization, and diversification of marketing channels. A couple of examples, DTC brands examples. On the left, this brand called Touchland is a purpose-driven brand. They revolutionized the hand sanitizers industry. They put forward their very own Touch Lives social initiative that also provides sanitizing solutions to communities in need based on the challenges that the society goes through. On top of them, helping public schools to have and create a healthier environment. On the right, we are looking at this brand called Glossier. So Glossier is definitely a familiar brand in the beauty industry. They are known to have come to success with the help of their community. On their social media platform, on Instagram, you would have seen high volume of engagement, sharing of information, experiences, and more importantly is their involvement of the community in their product development. They will take to the community to ask them, what are some of these problems you might be facing? What kind of products you are looking for? Even what kind of texture would you like? So that helps them in the next step when it comes to new product development, and definitely a very strong community-based beauty brand. A few more case studies in the next few slides to come that demonstrate how trust enters a new dimension of priorities. When we look at what trust looks like online these days, Perfect Diary from China comes to mind. Established in 2017, Perfect Diary have had impressive performance, and particularly to bring the attention to how they strategize on community management. So they have created their own Perfect Diary WeChat community. They roll out their very own virtual community manager known as Xiao Wanzi, who is very relatable. They create avatar of Xiao Wanzi to really connect with their consumers. And Xiao Wanzi will really give her own quote-unquote moments update, just like an actual person to maintain that relatability. And in doing that, what they have achieved is really two purposes over here: to sell Perfect Diary products, as well as to drive engagement and to maintain that relatability. So the WeChat group that they have equates to a WeChat community for Perfect Diary that really facilitate and support the online operations of this brand. Another example to look at is this brand called Beauty Pie. So Beauty Pie gets behind the psychology of consumer behavior to really analyze the purchase behavior in order to help them curate their new product development. So with the subscription, the membership tiers that they launched, they have an extensive customer data to really know what people are ordering frequently. So this is them having first-hand customer data. And in that, they then heavily invest in technology and data teams to build a custom e-commerce platform. So this is them leveraging data, technology, as much as they have also leaned on their community with the engagement that they have created in their product creation. So really a culture of co-creation as well. Another example is this skincare brand, Tatcha, which is based on Japanese beauty rituals. I love how the brand talks about beauty begins in the heart and mind. So when they talk about beauty rituals, they look at two areas. One is a beautiful ingredients and timeless rituals to calm the skin, and also kindness and mindfulness to nourish the soul. So a very values-driven brand. They emphasize a lot about adding an intention to the beauty routine to then elevate it to a ritual. So that really aligns with the value of consumers as much as it does with the brands. It is on its own also a philanthropic success story where they funds girls' education in their partnership with Room to Read to help nurture the girls in Asia as well as in Africa. In a media interview that she has taken, she was asked, how do you build trust with potential customers on social media in such a heavily saturated industry like beauty? So the interview with the founder of Tacha, Ms. Victoria Sai, she highlighted 2 points. One is about being authentic and to be true to who you are as a brand. So this almost get us thinking about how brand today is more than just the product that comes to mind. Brand is also about a person, it's about people. So she added to say how it's not just about selling a product. More importantly, it's also to connect with consumers on a personal and emotional level. So there's constant effort required, to improve trust, because consumers still question brands, the industry altogether, and they really hold them accountable. So they want a lot more information in order for them to make their own informed decisions. So taken from, again, Mintel's global consumer research studies, we hear from consumers, for instance, in Australia, 6 out of 10 consumers, they trust products and ingredients created by scientists. In South Africa, 65% of adults, they make use of campaign as well as accreditation groups information to learn about beauty ingredients. So there's constant questioning, but equally, there's also a demand for education, for knowledge in order to help consumers in their buying journey and experience as well. So when we think about trust, it's traditionally developed at product level, and this is what it looks like. Some examples here taken from Mintel's Global New Product Database. Trust at product level can be of ingredients transparency, just like the example on the left-hand side, IOPay, Ampil, where they list out the percentage of the active ingredients that they have utilized. It's about claims and certifications. It is also about that promise of efficacy. So Believe, this skincare brand from South Korea, when they started out, they were one of the very first few to have transparent ingredient listing on pack. Now they have moved forward with that to even put their promise out on pack. So like for instance, on this particular product, on the brightening ampoule serum, they talk about a particular statement, for instance, like helps, gives off a clear translucent skin. Yes. So that's them promising that glowing hydrated skin. That is what consumers are looking for as well. At product level, it's also about opening up with traceability initiatives. Again, a couple of examples over here. Just want to bring your attention to the one on the left. Gaia herb supplements. This is allowing consumers to meet their herbs. And how that's done. This particular product comes with a traceable ID number. So what consumers need to do is to enter that number in the website. That will bring them to look at information such as manufacture date, full ingredients details that they would be interested in, and even the testing that has been done on this product to really showcase integrity, purity, and even transparency. Trust is also now developed at a company level. And how and what does that look like? Trust at company level, we talked about it earlier on. It requires not just transparency, sincerity as well, and for some, even maybe a sense of humor. So one example over here is not a beauty example, but it gives us a good idea in terms of how trust is being delivered at company level. It's by this brand called Gush. So Gush is a paint company. Some time back, they made an error in the printing of their catalog cover. So instead of the catalog being called Color Atlas, it became Color Altus. 3,000 copies were printed. They did not reprint. They took to their social media to admit about this genuine mistake that was made. And everyone makes mistakes. That was what they were trying to talk about. They asked for everyone to be more accepting, to still embrace them and know that people do make mistakes. They are willing to admit that it's a genuine mistake, and let's just, recognize that, but move forward with this episode as well. So being open and owning up to their very own mistake is trust at company level, because it is about a brand personality that looks at brand behavior, which then suggests trust. When we look at trust, entering a new dimension of priorities, be it at product level, company level, this is yet another brilliant example. Ceremonia, this hair care brand. This brand looks at, from a product level, efficacy, sharing of knowledge. From a company level, it's about their overall behavior, integrity, and very consistent in what they talk about, how they engage their consumers as well. So as much as they are about sustainability and the use of natural ingredients, they are also about their own community. This brand was born out of the desire to celebrate the richness of Latin culture. So now their brand allies form this very own brand community, which also helps them with influencer marketing and their product development input. So a lot of their products that they have today in their portfolio is really co-created together with their community. So their community will really help comb through information from social media, from forums, to look at even hosting some discussion group to gather feedback, to then put all this information together, deliver insights, to think about what the next new product should be. So this community started out with influencers to now include micro-influencers as well as now their own customers. So it's definitely a combination of their own insider community as well as active and mindful listening and engagement. So then what's the future growth for beauty industry in this whole new era of trust? How beauty will find growth? Firstly, change the brand voice. It needs to come with purpose. So becoming more purposeful is important. This is what consumers are looking for. They want to connect. They want to align on values. They want to feel that affinity to brands. It's also about shifting to an industry narrative. Innovatives will still remain at product level. It's still fundamental. But equally, brands need to shift from a product mindset to now an industry narrative. Because this is where trust comes into play, that comes about from your overall brand personality and brand behavior, and both of which has to be consistent. And finally, it's also on personalization, a word that we hear a lot in the industry. Personalization is not just about customizing solutions today. It has to extend and to include experiences as well. So brands need to start thinking and looking into how they can fine-tune the content that they generate, where and how they can generate first-hand data to then convert all of that into valuable insights for themselves, to personalize the shopping experience, the overall brand experience for and with their consumers. So to sum up this presentation, I'll leave everyone with this. With trust, brands today earn long-term customer value and loyalty in the face of disruption. So time to think about, has your brand made an impression and also a difference? So that's the end of this presentation. Thank you very much for your time, for sticking around with me. If you are an existing Mintel client, please feel free to reach out to your account manager for a copy of this presentation. Otherwise, feel free to reach out to us at infoasia@mintel.com. Thank you very much.